"Mommy, will we see each other again?" your daughter asked, crying in the hospital. Jennifer Miller felt her world collapse when she heard her daughter's desperate words echo down the hallway. The 15-year-old girl was crying in a way she had never seen before, and her words carried a weight that made her chest tighten with anguish. It was in that moment Jennifer realized something far beyond a simple doctor's visit was happening. Amber held tightly to the bed railing, her red eyes fixed on her mother's pale face, waiting for an answer that seemed increasingly distant. "Mom, can you hear me?" Amber tried again, her voice trembling. "You're going to be okay, right?" Jennifer opened her eyes slowly, but her gaze seemed vacant, as if she were trying to see through fogged glass. She moved her lips, but the words that came out left Amber completely confused. "Sarah. My Sarah. You came to see me." The teenager felt a shiver run down her spine. Sarah? Who was Sarah? She looked around, trying to understand if there was someone else in the room, but they were alone. "Mom, it's me, Amber, your daughter, remember?" The weak smile that appeared on Jennifer's face wasn't the one she knew. It was a smile full of longing, as if she were seeing someone she hadn't laid eyes on in years. "Sarah, you've grown so much," Jennifer murmured, reaching a trembling hand toward her daughter. "I always knew you'd come back to me." Amber held her mother's hand, her heart pounding unevenly. Something was very wrong. Her mother had never mentioned anyone named Sarah, and now she was calling her by that name with such tenderness, it seemed she had known this person her whole life. The door opened, and a nurse walked in, carrying a tray of medication. When she saw the scene, her face filled with compassion. "Is she confused again?" the nurse asked quietly. "Confused about what?" Amber stood up, her legs shaky. "She called me Sarah. Who is Sarah?" The nurse hesitated, as if she knew something she shouldn't say. She glanced at Jennifer, who had closed her eyes again, then stepped closer to Amber. "Sweetheart, your mother has been asking for Sarah ever since she got here. The doctor said her condition might make her mix up the present with the past." "But who is Sarah?" Amber pressed, her voice rising. "I don't know, dear. Maybe you should talk to your dad when he gets here." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Amber sat back in the chair beside the bed, watching her mother's serene face. It was hard to believe that just 3 weeks ago they had been laughing together in the kitchen, baking her dad's birthday cake. Jennifer had always been the most clear-headed and present person she knew. She had worked as a teacher for 20 years, remembered every student, every important date, every detail of family life. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning. Jennifer had dropped Amber off at school, and when she returned, Amber found her sitting in the car, parked in the garage, staring blankly. When she asked if everything was okay, her mother said she couldn't remember how she'd gotten there. The episodes became more frequent. Jennifer started forgetting where she'd put her keys, then began missing important appointments. Within days, she couldn't even remember conversations that had happened minutes earlier. The diagnosis hit like lightning, a rare neurological condition that attacked memory aggressively and unpredictably. The doctor explained there was no known cure, only treatments to try and slow the progression. "Dad," Amber murmured, grabbing her phone to call Michael, her father. The call went to voicemail. He was traveling for work in New York and had promised to return the next day. Amber left a desperate message telling him about the name Sarah and asking him to call urgently. When she ended the call, she noticed her mother was awake again, watching her with that strange look. "Sarah, are you sad?" Jennifer asked, her voice full of affection. "Mom, please, it's me. Amber, your daughter." "Amber." Jennifer repeated the name as if hearing it for the first time. "I don't know any Amber." The words hit Amber like a punch to the gut. Her own mother didn't recognize her. She stood up abruptly, tears beginning to stream down her face, and ran out of the room. In the hallway, she bumped into Grandma Betty, her paternal grandmother who had just arrived at the hospital. The 68-year-old woman held a bag of fruit, her face etched with worry. "Amber, what happened? Why are you crying like this?" Grandma, Mom doesn't recognize me. She calls me Sarah. Amber threw herself into her grandmother's arms, sobbing. Grandma Betty stiffened for a moment, as if shocked. Her hands trembled as she stroked her granddaughter's hair. Sarah? She repeated softly, more to herself than to Amber. Do you know someone named Sarah? Please tell me who she is. The grandmother looked around, as if making sure no one was listening, then pulled Amber into a quieter corner of the hallway. Sweetheart, these are things from the past that are better left alone. Grandma, my mother is dying and doesn't recognize me. I need to know who this Sarah is that she keeps calling for. Grandma Betty sighed deeply, the weight of the years seeming to press harder on her shoulders. She glanced toward the room where Jennifer was hospitalized and then back at her granddaughter. Sarah was... She began, but stopped, as if the words were too hard to say. Sarah was your sister, Amber. My sister. Amber's legs felt weak. What sister? I don't have a sister. You did. You had an older sister. Where is she? Why did no one ever tell me about her? Grandma Betty closed her eyes as if reliving an old pain. Sarah was born when your mother was only 17. Back then, your mother and father were dating, but they weren't ready to raise a child. Jennifer's family, well, they didn't accept the pregnancy. They said she was too young, that it would ruin her life. What happened to her? Sarah was given up for adoption when she was born. Your mother nearly went mad with grief, but she had no choice. Years later, when your parents married and you were born, they decided never to speak of it again. Amber leaned against the wall, feeling as if the ground was shifting beneath her feet. A sister. She had a sister, and never knew. My mother suffered because of this her whole life, didn't she? She suffered terribly. I could see it in her eyes, you know, especially on your birthday. She always seemed a little sad, like she was thinking of someone else. Suddenly, so many things made sense. The moments she'd find her mother staring into space, lost in thought. The times Jennifer held Amber a little tighter in hugs, as if afraid of losing her too. The unexplained tears that sometimes appeared. Where is Sarah now? I don't know, sweetheart. Your mother tried looking for her a few times over the years, but she never found any information. The adoption was closed. Amber felt a mix of anger and sadness tightening in her chest. How could her parents hide something so important? How could they let her grow up not knowing she had a sister? I'm going to find her, Amber declared, with a determination that surprised even herself. Amber, don't do this. It'll only bring more pain. Grandma, my mother is dying and calling for Sarah. If there's a chance she might remember who I am by seeing the daughter she lost, I'll try. Grandma Betty held her granddaughter's arm firmly. And your father? He'll be furious. I don't care. My mother needs peace, and maybe Sarah is the only one who can give that to her. That afternoon, while Grandma Betty stayed with Jennifer Miller, Amber left the hospital with one goal: to find Sarah. She went to the city's central records office, then to the courthouse, trying to find any information about adoptions from 15 years ago. The courthouse clerk, a middle-aged woman with thick glasses, was kind but firm as she explained that adoption records were confidential. But she's my sister, Amber insisted. My mother is very sick and needs her. I'm sorry, dear, but I can't help. That information is protected by law. Amber left devastated but didn't give up. She went home and started searching online, looking for groups of people searching for relatives, adoption websites, anything that might give her a lead. That's when she found an online forum for adoptees searching for their birth families. Her heart raced when she saw a message posted 2 years earlier. Looking for my birth mother. I was born in March 2008 in a town in upstate New York. My baptismal name was Sarah. If anyone knows anything, please help. The post was signed by Sarah Christine Parker. Amber trembled as she read it. Could it be her? The dates matched. The name matched. With shaky hands, she clicked on the user's profile and found a photo. When the image loaded on the screen, Amber felt like she was looking into a mirror of the future. The girl in the photo had her eyes, her nose, the shape of her face. It was impossible to deny. That was her sister. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Amber typed a message with trembling fingers. Sarah, I think I'm your sister. My mother's name is Jennifer Miller, and she's in the hospital. She has a memory disorder and has been calling your name. Please respond if you get this message. She hit send before she could change her mind. Then she sat there, staring at the computer screen, waiting for a reply that might never come. 2 hours later, her phone rang. It was a call from an unknown number. Hello? Amber answered, her heart pounding. Is this Amber? Asked a nervous female voice on the other end. Did you send a message about Jennifer? Yes. Are you Sarah? I am. I can't believe I finally found you. Amber started crying on the phone. It was real. Her sister existed and was right there, on the other end of the line. Sarah, can you come to the hospital? Our mother, she's really sick. I live right here in the city. Which hospital? Mercy General, room 312. I'll come now. Amber, thank you for looking for me. When she hung up, Amber realized she'd made a decision that would change everything. There was no going back. She called her father, but again it went to voicemail. She left a message saying there was something important to discuss when he got back. Then she rushed back to the hospital, both anxious and terrified. What would Sarah be like? How would she react to seeing their mother? And most importantly, how would their father react when he found out what she'd done? She arrived at the hospital breathless and found Grandma Betty leaving the room. How is she, Grandma? Still confused. She's been asking for Sarah all afternoon. Where were you? Amber took a deep breath. Grandma, I found Sarah. She's coming here. Grandma Betty turned pale. Amber, what have you done? What I had to do. Sarah was looking for us too. She lives here in the city. Your father will be furious. Let him be. Mom needs her. At that moment, the two elevators opened almost simultaneously. From one emerged Michael, Amber's father, who had managed to catch an earlier flight and returned in an emergency. From the other stepped out a young woman with brown hair and nervous eyes, searching for the room numbers. Michael spotted his daughter in the hallway and rushed toward her. Amber, how's your mother? I got your messages. But he stopped mid-sentence when he noticed the young woman hesitantly walking toward them. For a moment, his face turned as white as a sheet. Sarah? He murmured, disbelieving. The young woman turned at the sound of her name, and when she saw Michael, her eyes filled with tears. Dad, she whispered, her voice barely audible. The hallway fell completely silent. Michael stood frozen, as if seeing a ghost. Amber looked back and forth between her father and Sarah, realizing the magnitude of what she had set in motion. What have you done, Amber? Michael asked, his voice a mix of panic and anger. I brought Sarah to see Mom. She calls for Sarah all the time. You had no right to do this, Michael snapped. You don't understand the consequences of what you've done. Sarah took a step back, hurt by his reaction. I can leave if that's better, she said, her voice trembling. No, Amber stepped between them. You're not leaving. You have every right to see our mother. Our mother? Michael repeated, stunned. Amber, Sarah is not your sister, not anymore. How can you say that? Amber shouted, drawing the attention of other visitors in the hallway. She's Mom's daughter just as much as I am. Michael ran his hands over his face, clearly battling emotions he'd buried for years. You don't understand. When we gave Sarah up, we made an agreement to protect everyone, including her, so she could have a normal life without carrying the weight of our mistake. Mistake? Sarah spoke for the first time since Michael had recognized her. I was a mistake. No, Michael said desperately. That's not what I meant. You were never a mistake, Sarah. But the circumstances made you abandon me, Sarah finished, the pain clear in her voice. We were kids. Your mother was 17, I was 18. We couldn't raise you. But you could raise Amber 5 years later. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Michael had no answer because the truth was, He and Jennifer had matured, stabilized financially, and decided they could be parents by the time Amber was born. "Sarah," Amber moved closer to her sister, "do you want to see our mother?" Sarah looked at Michael, who remained tense, then at Amber. "I've searched for you for years. Yes, I want to see her." "She's very confused because of the illness," Amber explained as they walked toward the room. "But maybe when she sees you—" Michael followed at a distance, clearly disapproving but unable to stop them. When they entered the room, Jennifer was asleep. Her breathing was slow and labored, and she looked even frailer than she had that morning. Sarah approached the bed hesitantly, as if she couldn't believe she was finally there. She studied her mother's face for long minutes, memorizing every detail. "She's just like I imagined," Sarah murmured. "I always tried to picture what her face looked like." Amber stepped closer and gently touched Jennifer's arm. "Mom, there's someone here who wants to see you." Jennifer slowly opened her eyes, and when she saw Sarah, her face completely transformed. A genuine smile, the first in weeks, lit up her features. "Sarah, my Sarah, you came." Sarah began to cry. "Hi, Mom, it's me." Jennifer reached out, and Sarah took her hand, feeling the fragility of her mother's fingers between her own. "I always knew you'd come back," Jennifer said, her voice clearer than it had been in days. "I always knew. I knew I'd find you one day too." Michael watched the scene from the corner of the room, visibly emotional but still holding back. "Sarah, you've grown so much." Jennifer stroked her daughter's face. "You have a sister, you know? Amber. She looks just like you." Sarah looked at Amber and smiled through her tears. "I know, Mom. I just met her." For a moment, everything seemed all right. Jennifer was lucid, recognizing both Sarah and Amber, and there was a sense of family reunion in the air. But then Jennifer looked at Michael, who had stepped closer to the bed. "Who are you?" she asked, with the same confused expression as before. Michael's heart broke. His wife recognized their daughters but couldn't remember him. "I'm Michael, your husband." "Husband?" Jennifer seemed genuinely confused. "But I'm not married. I'm too young to be married." Sarah and Amber exchanged glances, realizing their mother's mind had slipped back to the past, to when Sarah was just a baby. "Mom," Sarah said gently. "How old are you?" 18, Jennifer answered without hesitation. "Why are the girls so big?" "Sarah, you're a baby, not a grown woman." The confusion was growing again. The moment of clarity had passed, and Jennifer was mixing up different periods of her life. Dr. Wilson, the physician overseeing her case, entered the room just then for his afternoon rounds. Seeing the number of people and the emotional state of everyone, he asked to speak with Michael in the hallway. "Dr. Thompson, who are these people?" The patient is very agitated. "The young brunette is our other daughter, Sarah. She was adopted at birth." Dr. Wilson looked surprised, glancing back at the room before turning to Michael. "Interesting. Mrs. Miller has mentioned a Sarah repeatedly. How has the family handled this over the years?" "We never talked about it. It was too painful when it happened." "Mr. Thompson, may I suggest something?" Dr. Wilson stepped closer. "Sarah's presence could be beneficial for your wife's treatment. Sometimes addressing unresolved emotional issues can help in cases like this." "Doctor, I'm not sure stirring this up now is a good idea." "With all due respect, your wife is already stirring it up. Her mind has returned to the time when Sarah was born. Perhaps facing it rather than avoiding it is the best way forward." Michael fell silent, processing the doctor's words. "Is there any chance she'll improve?" "We're still running tests, but I can say unresolved emotional trauma can accelerate this kind of condition. On the other hand, resolving those traumas can sometimes have a positive effect." When they returned to the room, they found Sarah softly singing a lullaby to Jennifer, who had calmed down and was gazing at her daughter with admiration. "What a beautiful voice," Jennifer murmured. "Sarah always loved to sing." "How do you know?" Sarah asked, surprised. "You used to sing in my belly. I could feel you move when I sang to you." Amber watched the interaction between mother and sister with a mix of happiness and envy. There was a connection between them she had never experienced with their mother, an intimacy built on longing and unresolved love. "Sarah," Amber said after a while, "can you tell me about your life? What were your adoptive parents like?" Sarah hesitated, glancing at Michael, who had sat silently in the corner. "They were wonderful parents. They loved me deeply and gave me everything I needed. But I always felt like something was missing, you know? A part of me I didn't know." "Are you married? Do you have children?" "I was married, divorced 2 years ago. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 6. "A granddaughter," Jennifer murmured, having overheard. "I have a granddaughter." "Yes, Mom. And she's beautiful." Michael shifted uncomfortably in his chair. A granddaughter he'd never met, a daughter who had grown up without him. The weight of the lost years was becoming unbearable. "Sarah," he finally said, "can you forgive me?" Sarah looked at him for a long moment. "I need time to process all of this. You were the family I always wanted to find, but you were also the ones who abandoned me. It's complicated. I understand. But I want to get to know you. I want Emma to meet her grandmother and aunt, if you're willing, of course." Amber stood up and impulsively hugged Sarah. "I'd love that. I've always wanted a sister." "Me too." Jennifer watched the scene with a serene smile, as if a missing piece of her life had finally fallen into place. That night, Sarah stayed at the hospital late. She brought photos of her daughter on her phone and showed them to Jennifer, who was moved to tears seeing her granddaughter for the first time. "She has your eyes," Jennifer told Sarah, "and Amber's smile. She's going to love meeting you." Michael had stepped out to get coffee, and when he returned, he found the 3 most important women in his life, talking as if they had never been apart. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine how things might have been if they hadn't made that difficult decision years ago. "Sarah," he said, stepping closer, "would you like to see our home? The house where you should have grown up?" Sarah looked at him in surprise. It was the first time he had shown any willingness to include her in the family. "I'd love that. And maybe you could bring Emma one of these days to meet her grandmother when she's feeling better. I think she'd like that." Jennifer took both her daughter's hands. "My girls. Both my girls are here." But then her expression shifted again, growing confused. "Where's Michael? He needs to know Sarah was born. He'll be so happy." Sarah and Amber exchanged a glance. Jennifer's mind had drifted back to the day of the birth, when there was still hope they could stay together as a family. "He knows, Mom," Sarah said gently. "He knows I was born." "That's good. I was so afraid he wouldn't want—" "He did. We all did." Dr. Wilson returned to do his final rounds for the night and was surprised to find Jennifer calmer and more lucid than she had been in weeks. "Mrs. Miller, how are you feeling?" "I'm happy, Doctor. My daughters are here." "That's wonderful. Do you know what day it is today?" Jennifer thought for a moment. "It's the day I found my Sarah again." It wasn't the answer the doctor expected, but there was an emotional clarity there that hadn't been present before. "Mr. Thompson, may I speak with you?" In the hallway, Dr. Wilson shared his observations. "Your wife has been more stable since Sarah arrived. There's still some confusion with time, but emotionally, she's more present. Is that a good sign?" "It could be. I'd like to propose something. There's an experimental treatment we're testing for cases like your wife's. It involves intensive family therapy combined with medication. The idea is that resolving deep emotional trauma may help stabilize her neurological condition." "Is it risky?" "All experimental treatments carry risks, but given how quickly your wife's condition is progressing, it might be a chance worth taking." Michael returned to the room and found Sarah gathering her things to leave. "You don't have to go," he said. "You can stay as long as you'd like." "I need to pick up Emma from my parents' house, but I'll come back tomorrow if that's okay." "Of course it's okay." Sarah leaned over the bed and kissed Jennifer's forehead. "Good night, Mom. I'll be back tomorrow." "You promise?" Jennifer asked, her voice small and fearful. "I promise." After Sarah left, Jennifer grew restless. "She's really coming back, isn't she, Michael?" "Yes, sweetheart, she promised." I can't lose her again. I can't. You won't. She's come home. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the hospital with Emma. The 6-year-old was nervous but curious to meet the grandmother and aunt she had just discovered the night before. Grandma isn't feeling well, Sarah had explained to her daughter. Sometimes she gets confused, but she loves you very much, even though she hasn't met you yet. When they entered the room, Jennifer was awake and more alert than she had been in days. Sarah, you came back, she said with genuine joy. Yes, Mom, I did. And I brought a surprise. Emma hid behind her mother, shy. Jennifer looked at her granddaughter and her face lit up. Is this Emma? Yes. Emma, come say hello to Grandma. The girl hesitantly approached the bed. Hi, Grandma. Hi, sweetheart. You're even prettier than in the pictures. Emma smiled, her shyness fading a little. Mommy said you sing really well. Would you like me to sing for you? Yes! Jennifer began singing a lullaby she used to sing for Amber when she was little. Emma was enchanted and clapped when the song ended. Sing more, Grandma. Amber, who had just arrived and was watching the scene, felt a pang of jealousy. Emma was getting attention from their grandmother that she herself hadn't received in weeks. Emma, Amber said, I'm your Aunt Amber. Hi, Auntie. Do you live with Grandma? Yes, I do. That's so cool. I wish I could live with Grandma too. Sarah noticed Amber's discomfort and stepped closer. Are you okay? I'm fine. It's just hard to see her so warm with you when sometimes she doesn't even recognize me. Amber, no one's to blame for this. The illness works this way. I know. It's just I've taken care of her my whole life. When she was hurt, when she was sad, when she needed anything. And now. Now she has 2 daughters to take care of her. Sarah finished, placing a hand on her sister's shoulder. You're not alone in this anymore. Michael arrived with coffee for everyone and was surprised to see how naturally Jennifer was interacting with Emma. Daddy! Emma ran toward him when she saw him. Michael froze. The girl had called him Daddy. Emma, this is Grandpa Michael, Sarah quickly corrected, realizing the misunderstanding. Hi, Grandpa Michael. Are you married to Grandma? Yes, Emma. That's so cool. My daddy and mommy aren't married anymore. I know, sweetheart. Jennifer watched the exchange with interest. Michael, our granddaughter is beautiful, isn't she? Yes, very beautiful. It was the first time in weeks Jennifer had recognized him and spoken to him naturally. Dr. Wilson, who had come in for his morning rounds, noticed the improvement immediately. Good morning, Mrs. Miller. How are you feeling today? Wonderful, Doctor. My whole family is here. I see that. And who is this young lady? This is my granddaughter, Emma, Sarah's daughter. Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm your grandmother's doctor. Are you going to make her better? I'll do my best. Dr. Wilson asked to speak with the family in the hallway. Mrs. Miller's improvement since yesterday is remarkable. She's more aware, more present. I believe the family reunion is having a very positive effect. Doctor, Michael said, yesterday you mentioned an experimental treatment. Yes. Given the circumstances and the improvement we've seen, I'd like to propose starting the protocol. It involves daily family therapy sessions, along with a new medication that's shown promising results. What are the risks? Sarah asked. The main risk is potential side effects from the medication, but without treatment, your mother's condition will only worsen. The family exchanged glances. It was a difficult decision, but there was real hope for improvement. We want to try, Michael said. I agree, Sarah added. Me too, said Amber. Excellent. I'll prepare the paperwork. The treatment starts tomorrow. That afternoon, Sarah took Emma home and returned alone to the hospital. She found Amber alone with her mother, who was sleeping. Where's your dad? He went to handle some work matters. Said he'll take a leave to stay here with Mom during the treatment. Sarah, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you hate me? For having the family you should have had? Sarah sat in the chair beside the bed. No, Amber, I don't hate you. I envy you sometimes, yes. You had the mom, the dad, the whole family. But it's not your fault. I always felt like something was missing. Now I know what it was. What was it? A sister. Someone to share things with, you know? The secrets, the fights with the parents, the first boyfriends. Sarah smiled. Well, now you have a sister, and she has plenty of secrets to share. Me too. Sarah, Amber hesitated. Do you think Mom will be okay? I don't know. But I think, no matter what happens, at least she knows we're all here, that the family is complete. Will you stay? I mean, really be part of the family? If you'll have me, I'd love to stay. Amber hugged her sister. I really want you to stay. Jennifer opened her eyes at that moment and saw her two daughters embracing. My girls getting along, she murmured. I always dreamed of this. We are getting along, Mum, said Sarah, and we'll take care of you together. All of us, Amber added. The next day, the experimental treatment began. Dr. Wilson explained it would be an intensive process, with family therapy sessions in the morning and medication in the afternoon. The first session was led by Dr. Johnson, a psychologist specializing in family trauma. She started by asking each person to share their version of the story. Michael spoke about the difficulty of the decision to give Sarah up, how he carried the guilt for years, and his fear of hurting Amber by telling the truth. Sarah talked about growing up knowing she was adopted, searching for her birth family, and the emptiness she always carried. Amber shared how she felt upon discovering she had a sister, how she believed her parents had lied to her, and her fear of losing her mother. Jennifer, who was more lucid during the sessions, spoke about the pain of giving up her first child, how it affected her ability to be fully happy, and how she always wondered if Sarah was okay. Jennifer, Dr. Johnson said, you carried this trauma alone for a long time. That may have contributed to your current condition. I was always afraid to talk about it, afraid of hurting Michael, of confusing Amber. And how do you feel now having Sarah back? Like I can breathe again. The sessions continued for 2 weeks. Gradually, the family processed years of secrets and pain. Jennifer showed steady improvement, becoming more present and aware each day. But not everything was easy. There were difficult sessions where old wounds were reopened. Michael and Sarah had to confront their anger toward each other. Amber had to accept she was no longer an only child. Jennifer had to relive the pain of giving Sarah up. Family isn't just love, Dr. Johnson said in one session. It's also forgiveness, understanding, and the willingness to build something new together. During one session, Sarah made a revelation that shocked everyone. I tried to kill myself when I turned 18, she confessed. I was so lost, missing something I didn't even know what it was. Jennifer broke down in tears. My baby, if I had known. Mom, it's not your fault. But that's why I decided to look for you, because I realized I needed this connection to feel whole. Michael stood up, and for the first time since Sarah had returned, hugged her. Forgive me, daughter. Forgive me for not fighting harder for you. I forgive you, Dad, but now you have to let me really be part of this family. Forever, promised Michael. 3 weeks after the treatment began, Dr. Wilson delivered the news the family had been waiting for. The tests show significant stabilization in Mrs. Jennifer's condition. I can't say she's cured, but the improvement is undeniable. Does that mean she can go home? Asked Amber. Soon, yes, but she'll need constant care and follow-ups. We'll take care of her, said Sarah. Together. Together, Amber agreed. A week later, Jennifer was discharged from the hospital. The family had decided that Sarah and Emma would move closer so they could be together whenever needed. On the morning of her discharge, as they packed Jennifer's things, she called her daughters to her bedside. Girls, I want you to know something. These were the worst and the best days of my life. What do you mean, Mom? Asked Amber. The worst because I almost lost you, almost lost myself, but the best because my family is finally whole. Sarah, Jennifer took her eldest daughter's hand. Do you forgive me for abandoning you? Mom, I already forgave you, and I understand you had no choice. Amber, she took her youngest daughter's hand. Do you forgive me for hiding the truth? Of course I forgive you, Mom. Just don't keep anything from me again. Never again, I promise. Michael approached the bed. And do you forgive me, Jennifer, for agreeing to give Sarah up? I forgave you a long time ago, Michael. Now let's go home. All of us. On the drive home, Emma was excited in the back seat. Grandma, now that you're better, can I sleep over at your house sometimes? Of course, sweetheart, whenever you want. And can Aunt Amber teach me how to make cookies? I sure can, Amber smiled, and your mom can teach us those songs she used to sing to you. That's so cool. Now I have a big family. You sure do, said Sarah, and a family that loves you very much. When they arrived home, Jennifer paused at the door and looked at the house she had lived in for 15 years. It feels different, she remarked. Why, honey? Asked Michael. Because now it's complete. That night, after Emma had gone to sleep in the room prepared for her, the family gathered in the living room. Sarah, Jennifer said, I have something for you. She went to her room and returned with a small box. What is it? The only things I kept from when you were a baby, a tiny shoe, a photo of you in the hospital, and a letter I wrote to you the day I gave you up. Sarah opened the box with trembling hands. Inside was a tiny pink shoe, a black and white photo of a baby in the hospital nursery, and a yellowed letter worn by time. With a shaky voice, Sarah read aloud, My dearest Sarah, today is the hardest day of my life. I have to give you to a family who can give you everything I can't. But I want you to know I love you more than anything in this world. One day, when you're grown, I hope you can forgive me. And I hope, somehow, you'll know that even far away, you were always in my heart. With eternal love, your mother, Jennifer. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Mom, Sarah pressed the letter to her chest. I always knew you loved me. Always. How? Because a mother who doesn't love doesn't suffer the way you did. I felt your pain through the years, through the distance. Jennifer held Sarah tight. Now you're home, my daughter. Forever. Forever, Sarah repeated. 3 months later, the family had settled into a new rhythm. Sarah had moved into a house 2 blocks away. Emma attended the same school Amber had gone to and spent afternoons at her grandparents' house. Jennifer continued her treatment, and though she still had moments of confusion, was stable and present most of the time. One day, while Amber and Sarah were preparing lunch together, Jennifer walked into the kitchen holding an envelope. Girls, there's a letter for Sarah. Sarah took the envelope, curious. It was from the adoption agency she had used to find her family. What could it be? She murmured, opening the letter. She read silently, her eyes gradually widening. What is it? Amber asked, concerned. It's from a young woman looking for her birth family. She's 22 and... Sarah paused, looking at her mother. And what? And she says her given name was Olivia, that she was born in March 2002. Jennifer turned pale and leaned against the kitchen counter. Mom? Amber rushed to steady her. What's wrong? Olivia was the name we chose for Sarah before she was born, but when she arrived, we decided to name her Sarah. Mom, Sarah said carefully, did you have another daughter? Jennifer sank heavily into a chair. No, I didn't. Then who is this Olivia? Jennifer looked at her daughters with an expression mixing guilt and fear. Olivia was the name I would have used if Sarah had been a boy. But... She stopped, struggling for words. But what, Mom? Girls, there's something you don't know. Something even Michael doesn't know. Sarah and Amber exchanged glances, their hearts racing. What do you mean? When I gave Sarah up, I was pregnant again. The silence in the kitchen was deafening. What do you mean? Sarah asked. I found out 2 weeks after giving Sarah up I was 2 months along, but that pregnancy, it wasn't Michael's. Amber sat down heavily. Whose was it? A man I met while recovering from losing Sarah. I was broken, lost. I made a mistake and Olivia was the result. And what happened to her? I gave her up too, to the same agency that handled Sarah's adoption. But I used a fake name, said I was single. Not even Michael knew. Sarah held the letter with trembling hands. You mean I have 2 sisters? You have 2 sisters, Jennifer corrected, tears streaming down her face. Why did you never tell us? Because the guilt was crushing me. The weight of giving up Sarah was already too much. Carrying the weight of 2 daughters, I couldn't. Amber stood abruptly. How many more secrets does this family have? Amber, please. No, Mom. First Sarah, now another sister. What else are you hiding? Nothing else, I swear there's nothing more. Sarah looked at the letter again. The letter says she lives in New York, that she's been searching for her birth mother for 5 years. What will you do? Jennifer asked. Sarah and Amber exchanged glances. It was a decision that would change their lives again. We'll tell Dad first, Amber finally said. He'll be furious, Jennifer murmured. Maybe, but he'll understand, like he did with Sarah. That evening, when Michael came home from work, he found the family gathered in the living room with solemn expressions. Did something happen? Sit down, Michael, Jennifer said. I need to tell you something. Michael listened silently, his face shifting through different emotions. Surprise, hurt, understanding, and finally, acceptance. Another daughter, he murmured when Jennifer finished. Are you angry? Jennifer asked. I'm hurt you didn't tell me back then. We could have faced it together. I was scared, ashamed. Jennifer, we were young. We made mistakes. But hiding this, I know. It was wrong. Michael took a deep breath. Well, if Olivia is looking for her family, I think we should respond. Really? Sarah asked, surprised. If we've learned anything from all this, it's that family secrets only cause pain. Better to face the truth, no matter how hard. I'll answer the letter, Sarah decided. I'll say we found our mother and that we want to meet her. What if she doesn't want to meet us? Then at least she'll know there's a family here who loves her. 2 weeks later, Sarah got a call. It was Olivia. Sarah, it's me, Olivia. I got your letter. Hi, Olivia. I don't even know what to say. Me neither. It's surreal. Are you really my sisters? We are. And our mother is here really wanting to meet you. How is she? The letter mentioned she was sick. She's better now. She had a neurological condition, but she's recovering. And our father? Sarah hesitated. Olivia, our mother will have to explain the situation with your biological father. It's complicated. Is he not alive anymore? It's not that. It's just a long story. Can I come visit you? I live in New York, but I can travel this weekend. Of course, we'd love to meet you. When Sarah hung up, she ran to tell the family. She's coming on Saturday, she announced. What's she like? Amber asked. She seems kind and just as nervous as we are. Jennifer was anxious all week. How would she explain Olivia's biological father? How would the young woman react when she learned she was the result of a moment of weakness? On Saturday morning, the family gathered in the living room, waiting. Emma was at a friend's house, so the first meeting could be more intimate. When the doorbell rang, they all exchanged glances. I'll get it, Sarah said. She opened the door and saw a tall young woman with curly hair and brown eyes. There was no denying they were sisters. The family resemblance was unmistakable. Olivia? Sarah? They hugged right there in the doorway, both crying. You look just like the pictures I saw online, Olivia said, and you're even more beautiful than I imagined. Sarah led Olivia to the living room where the family was waiting. Olivia, this is our mother, Jennifer, and this is Michael, my adoptive father and Amber's dad. Olivia hesitantly approached Jennifer, who stood from her chair. My daughter, Jennifer murmured. My Olivia. Hi, Mom. They embraced. and Jennifer cried harder than she had in months. "Forgive me, my girl. Forgive me for abandoning you too." "Mom, I didn't come here to blame you. I came to meet my family." "How were your adoptive parents?" Michael asked. "Wonderful. They loved me so much and gave me a great life, but I always felt like something was missing." "And now?" Amber asked. "Now I feel complete." Over lunch, Olivia shared about her life. She was a music teacher, lived alone in New York, and had been married but divorced a year ago. "And our biological father?" she finally asked. Jennifer took a deep breath. "Olivia, your father doesn't know you exist." "What do you mean?" "I met him during a very difficult time in my life. I was broken after giving up Sarah, and I ended up with someone I barely knew. When I found out I was pregnant, he was already gone from my life." "Did you two date?" "No, it was just one night. A mistake I made because I was lost and needed comfort." Olivia processed the information silently. "Do you know his name?" "Yes, David Thompson, but that was 22 years ago. I don't know where he is now." "I'd like to look for him someday. Not to demand anything, just to meet him." "I understand. If you want, I can help." "Olivia," Sarah moved closer to her sister, "would you like to meet your niece, Emma?" "I have a niece." "Yes, Sarah's daughter. She's 6 and can't wait to meet Aunt Olivia." "I'd love to meet her." "And we'd also love for you to consider moving closer to us," Amber said, "so we can be a real family." Olivia looked around the room, seeing the hopeful faces of the family she just found. "You know I have a life in New York, right? My job, my apartment, my friends." "Of course, Gum," said Michael. "We don't want you to abandon your life. We just want to be part of it. And I really want you to be part of my life too." That night, after Olivia had returned to New York with the promise to come back the following weekend, the family gathered again. "3 daughters," murmured Michael. "Who would have thought?" "3 wonderful daughters," Jennifer corrected. "Mom," said Amber, "now that we've found all our sisters, can we focus on being happy?" "Yes, my dear. No more secrets." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely." Sarah smiled. "Then let's start planning how we'll be one big, happy family." 6 months later, life had found a new balance. Olivia had managed to transfer to a school in town and moved into a nearby apartment. Emma had gained another aunt to spoil her, and the house was always full of voices and laughter. Jennifer remained stable, with only occasional small episodes of confusion. She had started writing a journal about the experience of reuniting with her daughters, encouraged by Dr. Johnson. Michael had retired early to spend more time with the family. He and Sarah had developed a strong father-daughter bond, and he was also building a relationship with Olivia. Sarah had found work as a coordinator for a local social project, something that brought her great joy and meaning. Amber was finishing high school and dreamed of studying psychology, inspired by the family's experience. Olivia, in addition to teaching, had started offering music lessons to Emma and other children in the neighborhood. One day during the Sunday lunch that had become a tradition, Emma asked a question that took everyone by surprise. "Grandma, why didn't you ever look for Aunt Sarah and Aunt Olivia before?" The table fell silent. It was an innocent question, but it touched a sensitive spot. "Because I was afraid, sweetheart," Jennifer answered honestly. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid they wouldn't forgive me. Afraid they'd be angry with me." "But they love you," Emma said with childlike simplicity. "They do love me, and I love them too." "Then why did it take so long?" "Sometimes, Emma, adults get scared of silly things, and that fear makes them waste precious time. Like when I'm scared of the dark and can't sleep, exactly like that. But when I tell you about my fear, you help me, and the fear goes away." "That's true." "So Grandma should have told someone about her fear sooner." Sarah and Amber smiled. The child's wisdom had summed up the whole family drama in just a few words. "You're right, Emma," said Sarah. "Grandma should have told someone sooner. But what matters is that we're all together now," Olivia added. "That's right," Jennifer agreed. "And we won't be apart anymore." Never again, Emma asked. Never again, they all answered in unison. The end. Now tell me what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your honest thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jennifer made the right choice by hiding the truth for so long? We'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.